Hi, I'm Kat Kalashian for Live and Invest Overseas, and today we're talking about Portuguese wines, uncorking the richness and diversity of the local terroir. So Portugal has established itself among the world's top wine producers in recent years, which is a big feat for such a small country. So what makes its wines so special? Because of its temperate, largely maritime climate, Portugal offers a wide range of terroirs, including mountains, rivers, valleys, sandy coastal plains, pretty much everything. Add to that the large number of native grapes, and it's easy to see that there is a whole world of wine to explore beyond the country's famous port wines. So to give a little bit of background here, winemaking in Portugal is an art that goes back centuries. In parts of what is today Portugal, winemaking was brought by the Romans. However, in some areas, it's even older than that and started with the Phoenicians. Wine has had a regular seat at Portuguese tables for its entire history, pretty much, not just for everyday family meals, but also on special occasions and even on official celebrations. Did you know, for example, that the independence of the United States of America was celebrated with a toast made using Madeira wine? So let's talk about the grape varieties. Unlike some countries that make mostly mono-varietal wines, in Portugal, it's pretty common to blend at least two different grapes. So with around 250 native grape varieties, there are many combinations that can be made. Some of the most well-known are the Malvasia Fina, Touriga Nacional, Arinto, and Trincadeira, which are some of the most famous in the country. Only recently have some of these so-called international varieties been planted in Portugal, such as Syrah, for example. And the resistance to following the mainstream approach to winemaking and viticulture is proving to be a wise choice in the long run, as Portuguese wines have become increasingly valued and receiving more and more attention on the global market. So there are different categorizations of Portuguese wine regions. There are 14 regions in total, with wines labeled into three categories. There's the DOP, which is probably the one that most people see the most or notice the most. It means Protected Designation of Origin, and it represents wines of exceptional quality that originate from a designated region. Think of it as champagne coming from the Champagne region of France. If it comes from anywhere else, it's not allowed to be called champagne. That's what the DOP means. These wines are produced under specific cultivation and wine production regulations, which are established by the wine authorities of the region in which it is grown. There are 31 DOC regions in Portugal. Then there's the Vinho Regional, or the IGP. So this applies to wines that are made from a range of grape varieties and blends not included in the DOP classification, and they are categorized as regional wines. And then finally, at the bottom of the pecking order, you've got Vinho, which is just Portuguese for wine, and it refers to table wine, and it represents the most elemental categorization of wine from Portugal. Take a look at the map for some of the regions to be outlined. So Vinho Verde is probably the most, well, after port wine, the most famous wine to come out of Portugal. And it comes from the Minho region, which is all the way up in the north, and it is famous for its Vinho Verde. Despite the name, which means green wine, Vinho Verde is white, rosé, or red. The green actually refers to the fact that it's young and a vibrant wine that has a light carbonation and is best enjoyed very shortly after production. This is not one to put in the cave for aging. The effervescence that's present in Vinho Verde began as a fermentation fault of all things. Trapped carbon dioxide in the bottle would make a light fizz, but drinkers really appreciated it, and the winemakers came to realize that this lively little spritz was one of the things that was most prized about Vinho Verde. So winemakers started to deliberately preserve it as a defining feature of this style. On the screen, you'll see some of the classic varieties of this region, including the whites and the reds. Tasting notes for this variety: these are light-bodied whites that often have a slight spritz, and flavors are reminiscent of lemonade with notes of melon or gooseberry. Rosés feature red berry flavors and crisp acidity, and reds have a distinctly astringent taste that may not appeal to everyone. Next, we've got the Trás-os-Montes, which is a wine region known for its rugged terrain and traditional techniques, crafting full-bodied red wines from native grape species. The extreme temperatures in this region translate into the local idiom of 9 months of winter and 3 months of hell. So that should give you a good idea of what the grapes are put up against in this region. And despite being relatively unexplored, even within the country for local wine appreciators, enophiles, this region produces a wealth of impressive wines worthy of your attention. The key varieties here you'll see on the screen. The tasting notes are for whites, smooth with a light floral or fruity aroma, and the reds are fruity and slightly astringent but intense and structured. The Douro and Porto region, also in the northern part of the country, is home to the most famous Portuguese wine. It's not only one of the oldest wine-growing regions in the world, but also one of the oldest origin-protected wine regions, dating back to 1756. This region has also been protected as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO since 2001. So very, very well-documented wine history in this region. And port really does take the spotlight here, but Douro also produces other fortified wines, like Moscatel, for example, alongside its reds, whites, and rosés, all of which have been receiving increasing recognition throughout the wine world and definitely beg for some attention outside of the well-known port wine that is usually famous for this region. You'll see the key varieties on your screen, and the tasting notes here for whites are crisp, fresh, light-bodied with hints of tropical fruit, citrus, and flowers. Reds are full-bodied and rich in tannins with notes like spices and dark berries, and rosé wines showcase an interesting harmony of the freshness and crispiness with floral and fruity notes. Next up is Terras de Cister, which the Cister of that refers to the Cistercian monks, the pioneers of winemaking in this area. The small region is renowned for its production of sparkling wines, having been the first in the country to receive the status of Controlled Designation of Origin, the DOP, back in 1989. The Terras de Cister also produces reds and whites worthy of exploration. Tasting notes for these include, for the whites, that they are famous for their aromatic and fruity characteristics with strong notes of tropical fruits, along with subtle hints of herbs and roses. Red wines boast a combination of red grapes, herbs, grapefruit, and oak, and rosé wines can be characterized as refreshing and sweet. For more tasty tidbits like this from Portugal, check out our newest offering. It's a book that I've just recently finished putting together, basically including everything that there is to know to make a successful start in Portugal, including things that you may have read online, but lots and lots of things that you probably will never heard repeated in a travel book or on a forum online, because these are insights coming from people that actually live there or locals that I've been friends with for years and have shared some of their experiences with me, some of their favorite things about living in Portugal, some of their favorite beaches, their favorite foods, some of the history that goes along with some of their favorite sites or archaeological excavation sites. So a wealth of information, really, really fun information to be had from this new book. Check it out by clicking on that link on your screen now. The Bairrada wine region is noted for being one of the pioneers in producing high-quality sparkling wine in Portugal, contributing to over 50% of the country's production. Despite its reputation for sparkling wines, Bairrada is famous for reds, whites, and rosés as well. The whites of this region are delicate, fresh, and very aromatic. The reds are rich in tannins and have notes of blackberry, blackcurrant, and dried cherry, and a certain smokiness that some have tasted. And the sparkling wines are typically fruity but complex with a balanced acidity. The Terras do Douro, in the Douro region of Portugal, is home to some of the country's best kept wine secrets. It's not nearly as well recognized as other regions, but it is rightfully gaining popularity among wine enthusiasts. Its outstanding and long-lasting, well-balanced wines are well worth your exploration. There are also some delightful, vibrant rosés and sparkling wines that are home to this region and sure to impress. Note that the whites here are very aromatic, fruity, and balanced, and red wines are full-bodied, strong in tannins, and aromatic, with structure and complex aromas. The Terras da Beira is one of Portugal's highest wine regions, with vineyards typically planted around 700 meters above sea level. Wines from the Beira interior intend to be fresh, floral, and energizing, while indigenous Portuguese grape varieties are the main focus of the Beira interior. The area is also well known for producing exceptional blends of local grapes with popular international varieties. The white wines here are fresh and have a chalky minerality, and the red wines are red fruit focused with smoky notes. The Lisbon wine region ranks among the top producing regions in Portugal by volume. This area offers an extensive variety of high quality wines made from over 30 different grape varieties, including reds, whites, and rosés. And a unique find here is the full-bodied white wine from Colares, which is made from Malvasia fina grapes grown near the beach. Tasting notes for this region: white wines are citrusy, light-bodied, and reminiscent of beeswax. Red wines are robust, high in tannins, and full-bodied. The Tagus or Tejo region, if you're looking for a great value for money, look no further. With 500,000 hectares in total, the Tagus wine region is one of the most fertile in the country, and it creates an ideal environment for a wide variety of local grapes, including the Alvarinho. White wines from here have strong fruit aromas with tropical and floral notes. Red wines are aromatic with soft tannins. The Setúbal Peninsula is our next stop, and the wines produced here are highly regarded in the Portuguese wine scene, and the region is particularly famous for its dessert wines, including Moscatel and Moscatel Rojo. These are often aged for more than 50 years, displaying outstanding quality with rich flavors of honey, orange blossom, and dried fruits. White wines from here are noted for their floral aromas. Red wines feature soft flavors and spices and berries. Moscatel and Moscatel Rojo are appreciated for their intense aromas of honey, linden, and citrus flowers. Alentejo wine region covers 1/3 of the country's territory and is famous for producing some of Portugal's best wines. It's characterized by its rolling hills, which are home not only to vineyards, but also sheep, wheat fields, olive groves, and cork oak trees. With its warm climate and fertile soils, Alentejo produces a wide variety of wines, ranging from bold reds to refined whites. The whites can be both light and full-bodied with a hint of acidity balanced by tropical fruit undertones. The red wines are robust with strong tannins and filled with notes of berries. The Algarve region, which is known for its virtually year-round sunshine, is one of the country's top sites for prime wine production because of this weather. The sunny region has its very own indigenous grape variety called Negra Mole, which is also the second oldest Portuguese variety. Here, the white wines are delicate, velvety, very fruity, and with a light acidity. Red wines are soft and sweet with a little acidity and mild astringency. And rosé wines are aromatic but smooth and sweet with light acidity. The sparkling wines from here are known for their delicacy with intense fruity notes. Finally, we'll move on to the islands of Portugal. Madeira, which is Portugal's most prestigious fortified wine, globally speaking, second only to port. It's known for its exceptional longevity. Madeira wine can remain vibrant and enjoyable for an incredibly long time, with bottles from the late 18th century still in excellent condition today. It's important to note that Madeira also produces other types of wine, though, not just the fortified varieties. Tasting notes for this region, the island chain of Madeira. The kind of aromas typically found in white or red wine are not present in Madeira wine, which features a blend of aromas that develop during the aging process. These include spices like pepper, vanilla, clove, nutmeg, cinnamon, fruit like coconut, dried fruits, orange peel, for instance, plus tea, chocolate, coffee, pine, oak, tobacco, and honey. So these wines have a very particular taste. The Azores is another of Portugal's archipelagos, and 3 out of its 9 islands grow wine grapes, the Teixeira, Pico, and Graciosa. The Teixeira specializes in creating a light, dry white wine, while Pico and Graciosa produce a fortified wine. The vineyards are planted in structures known as corrals, which are walls made of volcanic rocks that provide warmth to the vines and shield them from the harsh weather here. There are very, very strong winds on the Azores and on Madeira. The Azores are known for growing exclusive grape varieties such as Arinto dos Açores and Terrantes do Pico, along with Verdelo, also cultivated in Madeira. And the tasting notes here are that the pico and biscoitos made in Graciosa are predominantly white, well-structured, and liquor-like with a spicy flavor. The terceira is predominantly dry, light, refreshing, and moderately fruity. So, cheers to Portugal's wine country. Portuguese wines are as diverse as they are rich. Each bottle tells the story of an alchemical process that started with humble grapes and included the hard work of dozens of people along the way. Today, I've only scratched the surface of the whole palette of flavors, traditions, and terroirs that Portugal has to offer when it comes to wine production. Consider this an invitation to delve deeper into the vast world of Portuguese wines, whether as a visitor or from the comfort of your own home. Cheers to new adventures in the realm of Portuguese wine. For more on Portugal and everything it has to offer, check out our Portugal bookstore at liveinvestoverseas.com. Click that link on your screen. Happy trails.